Welcome. Good evening. We're very happy to have you here. I am Dave Watts, chair of the MIT Venture Lab team. And on behalf of the team, I want to welcome you to this year's Meet the Angels.
All right, well, I want to first thank all of you for fighting traffic and the elements and taking time out of your busy startup lives to be with us tonight. So cheers to you. And I'm delighted to introduce a new entrant. I believe that the TiE Angel Group Seattle just had its first anniversary. So joining us here tonight, representing TAGS, as it's affectionately known, is Haresh Ved. Thank you, Haresh. All right, we're getting in the game. This is a participation sport, folks. Okay, so I'd like for each of you to do a slightly longer introduction about yourself, and may I refer you again to this handout, which you can find also online on Brian's website. But what we're going to do, because you already have all this amazing historical and current data, is we're probably not going to talk a lot about the facts and figures. You have those at your fingertips. So, gentlemen and gentlemen, why don't we have you each kind of get up and talk a little bit more about your philosophy, your approach, what makes you special and unique in this vibrant ecosystem. All right, why don't we go ahead and pick up Haresh here with TAGS, TiE Angel Group Seattle.
Hi, my name is Haresh Ved. I represent TiE Angels Group of Seattle and TiE Seattle. I want to thank Rebecca and the MIT Forum to invite us for this event. I did talk with a few entrepreneurs here, and I did figure out that even after being here for such a long time, nobody really knows that much about TiE. So let me just give you a brief introduction. TiE was launched in 1992 by a bunch of successful entrepreneurs and corporate executives back in 1992 when they had an excellent exit for their company with the sole goal of promoting entrepreneurship in the Indian community. Little did they know that they'd just catch on like wildfire. So today we have more than 60 chapters in 17 countries with about more than 2,500 charter members. TiE Seattle we launched in 2000, and I've been fortunate enough to be one of the charter members since even before it was incepted, since its inception. TAGS is one of the programs of TiE Seattle. The key focus of TiE is to promote entrepreneurship. It's a nonprofit. We had quite a few programs to help entrepreneurs, but then until we bring in the element of capital, I thought the equation wasn't complete. So we decided to bring it in, and last year we actually launched TiE Angels Group of Seattle. The first meeting we had was in May, and immediately followed by our investment, the first investment. And by the end of the year, we had 6 investments, 1.9 million from TAGS members alone. And with working with some co-partners, which I am a firm believer in, it's more than double that amount. It's quite a simple process, like most of the networks. Entrepreneurs apply through the website. It goes through the screening process. We have a screening committee. Shortlisted companies are invited for presentation. Subsequently, investors form subgroups, interested investors, then they form a due diligence team, they perform the due diligence. At the end of the due diligence, hopefully we conclude the deal with investments, or at least we give actionable feedback to entrepreneurs, at least they can act on. We've been very fortunate. Most of the TAGS members are affluent, successful people in the Seattle area. Bring in a lot of domain expertise and knowledge. To give you an idea, we have 85 active TAGS members, and on an average, it's about 20 years of experience per member. So that makes it almost, 1,700 man-years of experience that TAGS has. Way more than a decade. So this is what is available to all the entrepreneurs once they associate with TAGS. And I'm very honored and humbled that I'm just the face of TAGS and leading this dynamic group of members.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Welcome. All right, so I think all of you are really great and transparent about sort of the official process, but let's talk about what entrepreneurs really need to do to get funding. So let's get some new voices into the conversation and talk a little bit about what are those winning qualities that you look for in a founding team as you're getting ready to back them. Anybody else? Haresh?
I think it's very important to have complementing skill sets to complete your team. It's very important that each and every aspect of the business has to take off, not just the technology, not just the product, whatever it is. And sales is key. Everyone has to sell. The other important thing I think is people should believe in themselves, because when you go out to meet all these people, the more you meet, the better it is, because every pitch you make makes you that much better. But there'll be people and they'll throw curveballs at you, so you should not give up. You should have confidence in yourself. You should believe in that yourself. And you have to, first of all, convince yourself that this is the best thing ever to fix a certain problem. Only if you're convinced yourself can you convince someone else and believe in you.
Right.
So
And
that's very important.
If Christopher were here, I've heard him say he likes to invest in entrepreneurs who are just this short of crazy, right? I mean, you have to be so driven and that you are doing what you are best in the world at, and you can't not pursue this dream. So how much time should these folks realistically plan to, start and finish their fundraising and getting that check in the bank? How long is it really going to take? And I think I saw Haresh and then Tom. Were you? Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to say that there are two things very important with the whole process and the amount of time it takes. Typically, it's the preparedness on the entrepreneur's side as well, the company's side, how prepared, how meticulously they've kept records of whatever they've done. They should already have an idea of what would be expected in a typical due diligence. So that may shorten the process quite a bit. Secondly, if they have already gotten the due diligence done from one of the groups, it's highly likely that many groups share due diligence. I typically share it with Kiretsu, but I like to summarize their reports because they're too long. Nobody really reads the whole thing. So, but it helps. It's a good start. Third thing I'd like to say is timing of things is also important in the whole closing process. I mean, it depends on how timely you pitch to a certain group, what kind of members have been in the audience. That really triggers it. If there are key leaders, and every group has some key leaders and investors, if they tend to take a lead, then things tend to run much faster and smoother in terms of closing the deals.
Tom?
And that's exactly what I wanted to echo.
Let's do a real quick lightning round of what is the worst mistake somebody can make in pitching. My own personal pet peeve is telling me they have no competition. That's a real deal killer for me. What does that mean if you have no competition? Anyone? There's no market or you haven't done any homework. Both are bad. So be a little more imaginative. All right, pet peeves and pitches, what not to do, real quick.
The one thing I really hate to see is last-minute substitutions of presenters trying to present their companies. These second presenters are not as good as the first one. They really do a disservice to the whole fundraising process. I'd rather advise people not to or cancel the presentation instead of sending a substitute who is not as competent.
Great. Any other pitch?
I think, to me at least, there's only one way of saying it's a good pitch. Everything else might fall in bad. So I have this principle of 4 W's, why, what, who. So why are they doing it? What are they doing it? Who are they doing it for? And who is doing it? If they cannot answer that in the pitch, if they don't cover that, then it's probably already lost interest.
All right, so I think
Then we can get into the details later about how and whatnot.
Yeah, and I think a couple themes are coming out here. One, that first pitch is a first date. There's much more that will happen thereafter. And two, keep it simple. And I think that for all of us who are spending our days and nights and weekends and months and years on this startup, nobody is going to know more about your business than you do. And so it is incumbent upon you to simplify and remember to avoid jargon, to get too much in the weeds. And some advice that I've heard is explain your business. Again, no offense to the geniuses on this panel, but explain your business as if you're talking to a really smart ninth grader, right? It's to a general audience. Try to avoid, getting too in the weeds with the nuts and bolts, but show how it works versus, just talking about it incessantly. All right, let's talk about what happens, whether it's 3 weeks or 9 months that it takes you to get the check from one of these groups. What happens next? What is your role as an angel investor once this deal is funded? I'm sure you each have different answers.
All right,
Haresh.
I'll give it a shot. I think, at least for us, angel investing is an interesting business. Typically, you would expect you'd give money to someone and get work done by them. But in our case, the work actually begins after we write the check. Not only do we try and get on the advisory board or a board, but that's when we start working with the entrepreneurs, not meddling, as Rebecca said, not running the company, but at least opening up the doors for that first sales pitch, that first partnership with any of the companies. We have a lot of experience and expertise. That's what we end up doing. And if we, in fact, don't see that if we cannot add value to an investment, then we might possibly even pass that investment. But if we see that we can really do something, that's when we get involved and engaged with the company.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe we can talk a little bit about what kind of communication you expect from your portfolio companies. Because in my mind, if you are only telling your investors when you have bad news, you're setting yourself up for failure. So what kind of communications do you expect? How often? Anyone?
No, I think it is critically important to let your investors know what is going on, because this is a small town, people talk. If somebody talks to these investors, hey, have you invested in this company, what's happening? And God help you, if the investor says, I don't know what's going on. It's very tough for the business. So it is extremely important. I think it is very important to keep them informed, but if there is any trouble or help required, that's the first thing they should do on a regular basis. So we actually pick up the phone, talk with all our investment companies at least once in a couple of weeks if we don't hear from them. And we don't expect a written report every month or something, but if there's something that is important, we need to know how we can help.
I think we're going to shift gears one last time before we open it up to audience Q&A. There are really few better people in the community to keep you guys informed of trends that they're seeing in investing in the regulatory environment. And I think we've all been at least watching from the sidelines some of the legislation around crowdfunding. I'm hoping that I'm seeing some nodding heads. Excellent. I've spoken with a few of you ahead of time. I'd love to get your sort of interpretation of what it all means, both for entrepreneurs seeking funding and maybe how you'll operate as groups in the future. Haresh, did you have a quick?
Yeah, I actually just wanted to chip in something. It's a very complicated process. Even lawyers don't share much with you, but there are
And they
two
disagree with
issues.
each other. They can't agree.
Federal level and the state level. At federal level, you actually need to have accreditation done by either the entrepreneurs themselves, which investors may not like. So there are companies now out there. Seed Invest is one of them. Investor Lockbox, where people can actually go and get the accreditation certificate. I don't want to get into too many details, but at the state level, they are trying to avoid all that formalities by opening it up for up to $1 million of investment. You can even get it from friends, family kind of investments without being accredited investors, or I believe it's what, $2,000 or $3,000 and 5% of your
Whichever is lower.
income,
Yeah.
or 10% of net income, whichever is lower.
Right,
Thank you.
right, yeah.
And one other thing for entrepreneurs, you have to be extra careful with all or anything you put on your websites or anything, because I was just recently told by our lawyers that even if you put in that, we are currently seeking funding for Series A, that's it, that holds you liable. So try and avoid putting anything like that anywhere in your advertisements, websites, publications, anything you have. And then you might be okay. But still, please talk with the lawyers. I am not one.
Thank you. And Haresh, did you want to chime in?
Well, it's always hard to follow Doug. So maybe I should not. But the only thing I'd like to say is, it's not typical for you as an entrepreneur to look at as a lead to the person who invests the most or the group that invests the most. You may want to find the right match in that group of investors or the investor who can actually have an impact on the rest of the investors. And that's who I would pick as a lead.
Thank you. All right, so now we're just going to do very quick parting words of wisdom. Thanks for the tip. And Haresh?
All right, once again, echoing him, you heard most of the interesting and important things, but I'm going to leave you with a little movie that I just thought of, the message in that movie. It was a Tom Cruise movie. I believe it was Cocktails. So this guy is talking with his friend and, saying that, so what should we do? And the person goes, I forget the name of that actor, but he says there are two kinds of people in the world. One are the workers and the others are the hustlers. Workers never hustle, hustlers never work. But if you want to be an entrepreneur, my advice is you have to do both at the same time. If you cannot, don't do it.
Well played, Haresh. All right, Doug, now you got to leap over that high bar. You can do it. Thanks, everybody.